pot. Whether you like it or not, it's getting hot, it ain't gonna stop. You can fry an egg on that black top. Jalapeno, habanero, solar flares and fire needles. Whipping it like Barbados, magma flowing from volcanoes. Non-stop, it's getting hot. Woo! It's getting hot. Temperatures rising, so I'm advising. Wear them sunglasses whenever you're vibing. Pump the AC indefinitely. Tinted windows, screen UVs. I'm running, close that door.
Hay mucho calor, como un luchador. Hay mucho calor, primaveras de amor. Hay mucho calor.
Yeah. Fire, fire, looking for a buyer. Got a hot tip that I wanna run by ya. Cold like Oma on the wire. Hello, French fry, meet the fire. Ooh. Better get a grip. Sweat so slick, you just might slip.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Cecilia Reynosa.
And there were more conversations than I could count for you, which producer said, I really want to do this piece, but maybe we shouldn't. I pitched this piece, but now I kind of regret having pitched it, because they were nervous about what they would encounter in a screening room if it was a topic that was particularly sensitive, of interest, it was just going to bring you a lot of heat down the line. That is dangerous for democracy.
There are three other longtime 60 Minutes correspondents who have remained on the show: Leslie Stahl, Bill Whitaker, and John Wertheim. They have said, we don't want to see 60 Minutes die.
Who does? Nobody wants to see 60 Minutes die. It's a piece of this country, and an important one. And there are a lot of producers who are still working there right now that need those jobs. I mean, we can talk about it just from that perspective too. I mean, this is an important place to work. I hope that the extractions they say they've been promised of no interference hold true. I hope there's respect for Scott. Scott is so brave for what he did, and the fact that Scott spoke out because he had the most seniority on that broadcast, that is a good man and a good American.
In a statement, and we should say this, CBS News responded with this. They said, we respect Ms. Vega and her contributions, but her claims are not based in reality. Barry Weiss and the new CBS management team have denied any political bias. They say that the overhaul of 60 Minutes is an effort to modernize the program, to bring in fresh digital storytelling, and to break down what they call a closed culture. Your response to that?
Well, I was the newest correspondent on that show, and as somebody who spent most of her career at another network, there was a closed culture. I mentioned it, the moat. I think a lot of folks who were there for a very long time would argue, and know better even than I do, that it was needed because there had been interference, attempts at interference in the past. The stories were, the bar is so high for these stories. These are not JV journalists working at 60 Minutes. These are the best in the business. They know what they're doing. As for my story not being based in reality, there are people in this room right here who I've worked with on many stories, and I think they would probably all tell you, Vega's tough on her stories, and she doesn't suffer fools, and I hold a high bar for my teams and my work, and I've gone head to head with editors for 25 years in this business, and gotten, Greg Klein is laughing, gotten down, he's like, absolutely, she does.
He resigned claiming that escalating corporate pressure compromised the journalistic independence of 60 Minutes. Anderson Cooper also later resigned, and then Tanya Simon, the new executive producer, was fired. And along with you, Sharon Alfonsi, the other 60 Minutes correspondent. And then just last month, the legendary Scott Kelly was fired after a very contentious staff meeting in which he angrily accused Barry Weiss of trying to murder 60 Minutes. Was Scott Kelly right? Is the new administration trying to kill 60 Minutes?
I never had an opportunity to sit down with Barry Weiss one-on-one, so I've never...
You never did?
No. She was in a handful of my screenings. So I never asked her that, never got the opportunity to ask that. I can't imagine that anyone would willfully want to murder this important piece of not just our culture and our history, but our democracy. But I'm not sure many folks understand why we are where we are with 7 really great journalists gone and what the impacts of that will be. I don't know. The ratings were phenomenal last season. By all accounts, the show is killing it. So it's unclear why we are where we are. With abject poverty in this state, a piece that was told in a very 60-minute style through the voices of strictly real people, residents of this area, Pastor, Brad, and Betty, the lady who dropped off water. No politicians, no experts. We were asked to include or mention J.D. Vance and his book about hillbilly elegy that was written 10 years prior about the state of Ohio.
Nothing to do with this story.
Nothing.
Who was asking you to do this?
The new administration at CBS News.
So you didn't do it?
If you watch my pieces, you would see that those examples did not come in. I was told there will be changes at 60 Minutes and your job is impacted when I was fired.
Before we get into what happened at CBS, tell me about yourself, the young girl growing up in California. Did you always want to be a reporter?
So I was always called Medici.
Better than chismosa, I
Well,
guess.
that's I have a couple of different text chains with groups in this room. I mean, the evidence, the receipts are out there. We are chismosa. I didn't know what being a reporter was, but we always had the news on. My dad always took a newspaper, and we couldn't afford to travel. I wasn't someone who saw the world growing up, but I realized at some point, holy crap, there's this job out there that will pay you to travel and see the world.
To write stories.
And write stories and ask questions, and you get to be in the front row of history and be at the most important events in the world of our lifetimes, of which I have covered many popes and presidential campaigns and elections and White Houses and Everest. And I say current tense, I still pinch myself at like, holy crap, I get to do this. Like, what an amazing opportunity. So this is intentional. It took me a few months to think on this and figure out what I wanted to say and why I wanted to say it, but I knew that I had to do it here. I apologize to people in this room because I have yet to get through all of the text messages and the DMs and all the comments. My mother has read every single one of them. And I have heard from her and others in here about how many messages from young Latinos I have received in the last couple of months in the wake of everything that has happened. And so I wanted to say personally to you, thank you. You guys have kept me standing in a really difficult period, and I'm so reminded walking down these halls of what a family this group is. And I mean, I literally, Kevin is in here, Kevin Olivas, I got my first job because